Mayfield, possibly out of Cleveland. You want to be a boss? That's how you be a boss. I did. I made a mistake. This up yet? I screwed this up.
3, 2, 1.
Is the intro or coming?
We're live.
Hey, good morning this morning. I've only been doing this show for 100 years now, and I completely screwed up this morning, but I am here, and I'm wearing my Illinois State shirt. That's right, Illinois State, the Redbirds, went over yesterday, watched my son's team. You know what they did? They whomped up. I mean, they beat the living you-know-what out of Belmont, the Bruins, so I am wearing it. I am excited. All right, let's get to some things that kind of sort of maybe matter. You know, we're all tired of the NBA, and I'm going to get into all kind of stuff with football, but I got to address this first. This is one of the most ridiculous things that I have ever heard in my life relative to football, basketball, baseball, you name it. It's unbelievably ridiculous. What is it, you ask? Well, I got to tell you. I cannot believe that Trae Young can't get along with his coach. Here's what happened yesterday, and this is just mind-boggling to me. So yesterday, Trae Young decides that he is going to he's going to miss shoot-arounds before the Atlanta Hawks game so that he can go get treatment on his shoulder. Yay, Rod, go fight, win. Old school coach Nate McMillan isn't having it. He's like, hey, you either get out here or go home. He went home. Actually went home, this guy, Trae Young. Actually said, well, I'm going home. That's the NBA. There is nothing worse right now than the entitlement of players. And when I say nothing worse, I'm talking nonviolent crime division. Okay? I'm not talking about, the wars. I'm not talking about inflation. I'm talking about the NBA, the players, the disrespect. We got players punching each other. We got players not wanting to play. We got players that go home instead of coming off the bench, that go home because their mommy or daddy or their coach is mad at them. I can't believe it. And everybody's going to make excuses for this guy. They're saying there's no more punishment for him. No more punishment? Are you insane? No more punishment? You should be, kicked off the damn team forever. Maybe I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. I get it. But I just don't understand how people can go along with this and pay attention to this league. Hey, look, I love the NBA. Anybody that knows me will tell you, I love it. I watch it. I like it. But when you got players saying, hey, I'm going to go home. Coach didn't do what I wanted to do, so I'm not going to play in the game. And then the coach, Nate McMillan, who I love, I'm a huge Nate McMillan fan, says, yeah, it was a miscommunication. Miscommunication? Whatever happened in the miscommunication? The dude decided to go home and not play. He went home. He's averaging 27 points a game. He's making bazillions, and I don't mean kind of bazillions. I mean the bazillions. He's a, quote, young star in the league, and this idiot can't show up to play in a game? That's what you're telling me? That's what you're telling me. Can't show up. I don't know what the hell is wrong with people. I honestly don't. I don't know what the hell is wrong with anybody where we would defend that. All right, I got a headache. I'm going to continue on. Let's go to the NBA. Let's go to the NFL. I'm getting to the Colts here in a minute. Leader of men, I'm trying to monetize this show. Leader of men, my backside. All right. Let's go through it. Are you ready? Let's go. Jimmy G's hurt. I ain't happy. Did you know this? Did you know the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, is going to get a chance, Brock Purdy? And Brock Purdy looked pretty good. Now you got to understand, here in the wide world of Coltsdom, we still don't have a damn quarterback. That's right. We don't have a quarterback. We got Matt Ryan, 37 years old. You know who the San Francisco 49ers beat the Miami Dolphins with yesterday? Brock Purdy. Quick question. Where did he go to college? I'll hang up and listen. Where did Brock Purdy go to college? I'll give you a hint. Iowa State. I did not know that. I did not care about that. I had no idea about that. Are you insane? Who in the hell does know about that? Nobody. Nobody knows about that. But Brock Purdy is Iowa State, and away we go. It's unbelievable. They can go ahead and win with Brock Purdy. Jimmy G is hurt. Did you hear this out of San Francisco? This is the stuff that makes me crazy, okay? Out of San Francisco, you know what they said yesterday? They said Jimmy G is our heartbeat. Think about that for a second. What does the media say about Jimmy G? Oh, he's got to go. What does their own team say about Jimmy G? What do the owners say about Jimmy G? Oh, he's got to go. I don't know about you, but I ain't letting go of the heartbeat. Heartbeat of a team is an important heartbeat. And Jimmy G, well, okay, we want to get rid of him. You want to get rid of him? I got a headache. Y'all are out of your minds. You're insane. So now, guess what? Now, the 49ers get a chance to go to the Super Bowl without Jimmy G. It ain't happening. But I got to tell you, Brock Purdy, he's my new hero. Why? Because everything comes back to Indianapolis. Every single thing. And what's coming back to Indianapolis is the fact that the Colts are so freaking bad, they give me a headache. So Jimmy G's out for the year. Brock Purdy is in. Jalen Phillips broke his foot, meaning he broke Jimmy G's foot. How about that action? Man, I hate when guys get hurt, particularly guys that are sticking it to the media. You know I don't like the media. Who likes the media? I don't like the media. You shouldn't like the media. There's not a damn thing to like about the media. But anyway, Jimmy G's out. I'm not happy. Speaking of not happy, speaking of ridiculous, how about Lamar Jackson getting hurt? I hate this. You know I have a weird thing for Lamar Jackson. I do. I have a weird thing. Lamar Jackson's my guy. I liked Lamar Jackson ever since Grandpa Poley had said Lamar Jackson should be a running back. I'm going, are you insane? Do you watch the NFL? Do you see what quarterbacks can do? I love Lamar Jackson. I hate that he's hurt. They won 10-9. It was the ugliest game of the weekend. Pretty game with two pretty quarterbacks, Mahomes and Joey Burrow. Really pretty game. Joey Burrow decided that his defense gave him an opportunity. So what did Joey Burrow do? He took advantage of it. What does Joey Burrow always do? He takes advantage of it. It's what Joe Burrow does. Seriously, I want you to think about this. Joe Burrow was at Ohio State. It's a well-documented story. I walk onto the field at Ohio State. I'm doing this a hometown broadcast. I'm on one side with Adnan Verk. Joe Tessitore is on the other side, Ohio State side, with Bobby Carpenter. So I'm down there, and I'm talking to the quarterback's coach or recruiting coordinator of Ohio State, and I see Haskins. Whoa. I see J.T. Barrett. Whoa. I see Joe Burrow. Whoa. And I see Tate Martell. Not so much whoa. And I'm like, man, J.T. Barrett's your guy, but look at these two guys, particularly Haskins. I thought Haskins was a stud, but you can see Joe Burrow could sling. Opportunity wasn't there. He went to LSU. Guess what happened? Opportunity showed up. What did Joe Burrow do? He took advantage of it last year. What happened? Opportunity came. He beat Mahomes. What happened yesterday? Kelsey fumbles, gets stripped. What happens? Joe Burrow takes advantage of the opportunity. I am, without question, a big Cincinnati Bengal fan. Not because of Joe Burrow. Because of Teddy Karras, the stud center, who ran off the field, walked off the field at Tennessee, MF in the entire city of Nashville, the state of Tennessee, and everything in between. But that's not why I'm a Cincinnati Bengal fan or a Teddy Karras fan. I grew up with Teddy's dad. We call Teddy Karras Jr. That's his dad. We call Teddy Karras Jr. Jr. So every single time Cincinnati wins, my toes are tapping. That's it. I like it. Good for the owner, Kara McLean or whatever her name is, McNair, for turning her back on Deshaun Watson. Women should. I mean, let's be honest. 30 women, this guy. And Schefter came out and said, well, you know, there's real progress made. Well, he hasn't assaulted a masseuse in what, 6 months? Yay! How that dude is on the field is beyond me. But again, how dudes leave basketball teams in the middle of the frickin', I don't know, season right before a game is beyond me too. Maybe, just maybe, the whole world is beyond me. And I got to tell you, I ain't mad about it. I ain't mad about it. The whole world wants to get beyond me, get beyond me. I don't blame you. But here's the deal. So now Watson goes out there, and Watson doesn't do anything. Look, you guys overrate Watson. I have seen Deshaun Watson once a year here in Indianapolis since his career started. He's very good, but he ain't great. He'll screw it up. He screws it up in the end. He does not get it done in the end. Now, this makes everybody insane, right? This makes people nuts. Oh, no, man, he's great. No, he's not. No, you don't understand. No, I do. Deshaun Watson's the best, man. No, he's not. No, he's not. Deshaun Watson is okay. Colts fans, I know there's a ton of you waiting on me to rip the Colts, and it is coming, boys and girls. But I got to tell you, how many times did we see Deshaun Watson fumble at the one? How many times did we see Deshaun Watson throw an interception? I'm not even sure the number can fit on one of my hands. A big interception. And these are meaty paws right here. These things have seen some things, been some places. And Deshaun Watson, I got two words for you, my backside. Hey, look, maybe the Browns are good. They look better. They won the game. Yay, rock, go fight, win. Deshaun Watson didn't do squat. They got a punt return for Donovan Peoples-Jones. They got 2 defensive touchdowns. Their toes are tapping. But I got to tell you, I hope Deshaun Watson, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want anybody to lose jobs. But damn, this is a terrible story that this dude is allowed to play. I'm sorry, it just is. And if you think it's not, then God bless you. There must be some other reason. As I say on this show all of the time, we don't care about women in this country. We don't care about children in this country. We absolutely do not. And it's proven time and time and time and time again. Now, we got Chad Withrow coming up. Can't wait to talk to him. We got a lot of things brewing in this show. But the truth of the matter is, this will be the best show you ever see. Now I got to gear it up. I'm trying to change the subject. I'm like the fighter in the corner. I'm going. I'm hitting the ropes. I'm working. I'm Mike Griffin's going to join us. We're going to talk college football. You know what I mean? Because it's time to talk about the frickin' Colts. It's time to talk about the most idiotic franchise in the history of idiotic franchises. What do you mean, Dan? What do you mean idiotic? They have a great history. Let me explain something to you. They do. And it's because of Peyton Manning. Anything other Peyton Manning has been crap. I mean crap. Now, let's discuss. You ready? The Colts yesterday, and I want to make sure I got this right, because I know I do have this right. The Colts put up more points in the fourth quarter yesterday. The Cowboys put up more points in the fourth quarter yesterday than all but 4 teams put up. Now I'm going to say that again. The Cowboys put up more points yesterday, 33, than all but 4 teams in the NFL. Now, is that unfreaking believable? The last team to put 30 or more points up in the fourth quarter was the Lions versus the Bears in 2007. They put up 34. The Redskins put up 35 in the second quarter of Super Bowl 1988 versus the Broncos. That's the numbers you saw yesterday. I told you last week. I don't know if I said it here. I know I said it on my local show. Saturday was starting to give me gas. Tell you why. He started saying I too much. I this, I'm a leader of men, I'm. And then I noticed this midweek. All of our little Colts scrappy insiders started reporting that the Colts players had to stop, or the coaches had to stop a walkthrough because players were not paying attention. I said on my show, they've checked out. And here's what teams do. These are professional athletes, okay? These aren't, this isn't your 4th team all-league linebacker saying left side, right side. No, these are professional players. So they're going to compete. They're going to compete for a while, and then teams that are broken quit. And I was waiting for it to come. With the Colts, sometimes, it comes in the first quarter. We saw it when they didn't complete a pass last week until 7 minutes and 8 seconds to go in the second quarter. Most teams, it comes at the end. And I'm sitting there going, Saturday went for 2. Colts had a chance to tie the game. Unbelievable. But I sat there. Lee and I both know, hey, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. You know it's coming. It's coming. And sure enough, interception. Malik Hooker, former Colt, by the way. Saturday doesn't throw a flag. It's unbelievable how stupid this guy is Saturday. It's unbelievable. You cannot walk into a group of people, adult men, adult male football players and tell the world how you're a leader of men. They look at you like, okay, lead me. Well, we got to do, okay. Now, you, play caller boy, Paris Frazier or Clark Frazier or Clark Kent or Joe Frazier, whatever the hell his name is. What? Well, now you're our play caller and you were just fetching me coffee 2 weeks ago. Look, I said this before. I've been in that position. I have. I've been in that position. I understand it. You never lead with I in coaching. You say we, you say us. So Saturday decides he's the leader of men. And did you see the propaganda from NBC? Reggie Wayne says he's the leader of men. Shut up, Reggie Wayne. Wide receivers stink. Reggie Wayne, great player, nice guy, but shut up. See, the Colts are trying desperately to recapture their youth. It's like if I decided, well, I did actually when I got divorced, my dad told me, hey, look, hey, Danny, do yourself a favor, man. Lose weight and get a sweater. I was trying to recapture it'd be fine. So I did. I lost weight, I got a sweater, I married Lee Ross. Win, win, win. I lost weight, I got a nice sweater out of it. Colts are trying to recapture their youth. Colts are trying to say, we had an unbelievable thing going with Peyton Manning. Let's bring all of the guys that, played with Peyton. Okay, how's that going? I said it at the time, it's stupid. What you do in the NFL is you bring in the best possible coach to actually lead the team. Lead the team. I'm a leader of men. Saturday was not. And this is something that I try to tell people and nobody ever wants to hear, but it's true. There isn't a single analyst, I don't care who it is, college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, there isn't a single analyst, not one, that never was a head coach that understands coaching. They might understand, this guy's whatever, but they don't understand a single thing about coaching. They can't. They don't. And I've said this forever, and Jeff Saturday is absolute proof of that. He don't understand coaching. He jumps around like an idiot with Mike Greenberg and that other racist clown, Ryan Clark. They jump around, they act like fools, they go ba 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 ba, yay rah, go fight win, yay. You don't know nothing about not one college basketball analyst that hasn't been a head coach knows anything about coaching. They think they do. Might have been an assistant for a year or two somewhere. They don't know jack squat about coaching. Nothing. If you haven't done it to put food on your table, you don't really know about it. And Saturday is the perfect example. It became about him. Never make it about you. All right. Man, that was unbelievable. Seriously. Was that unbelievable last night? I'm sitting there on about my 8th A&W freaking sugar-free root beer, munching on, my wife bought some Sriracha, is that what it's called? Sriracha pimento cheese dip. It was unbelievable. I ate my face off, sitting there watching late at night, and I'm like, my God. My God. All right, let's get some videos here for you. The college football playoff is set, ladies and gentlemen. And there really is no surprise. Mike Griffins is going to join me coming up here pretty soon. There's really no surprise, but man, weren't you hoping? Aren't you hoping? Can't you be hoping? I don't know. Georgia, Ohio State is an unbelievable game. A few weeks ago, everybody said Georgia and Ohio State were by far the two most talented teams until Michigan just wrecked everybody. And then, of course, Michigan, TCU. That one's boring. I thought this. There's two ways to look at this, all right? You could look at it like we would set up a Ohio State possible. I know Georgia's got something to say. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. A possible Ohio State-Michigan final, possible being the key word, or we could guarantee an Ohio State-Michigan game in the semifinal. And I'm not going to lie to you. I was hoping for the latter. I was hoping I was going to fly out there. I never do this. Like my brother will fly out. I go, where you going? He goes, my wife and I are going to Vegas. We're going to see the Killers. I go, who are the Killers? They're a band. All right. I never really do that. Although this week we're driving out to Philadelphia. I got great seats to the Army-Navy game and I can't wait. But the thing is this. when you look at what the college football playoff set up, it's perfect. It is. I mean, they didn't screw it up. Alabama, Nick Saban got on the air, and he started going nuts, and he started losing his mind. Not losing his mind. He was fine. I digress. He wasn't losing his mind. But I'm sitting there going, Nicky, baby, I agree with you. I think Vegas should set all tournaments. I think Vegas should set up every single thing that we do in college sports in terms of the playoffs. Like the NCAA tournament, let Vegas set it. Let them do the seeding. Let them do everything. Seriously, that's going to happen eventually. College football playoffs, screw these old white dudes sitting there in a room. Just give it to Vegas. They'll figure it out. They'll get the teams, and away we go. Seriously. I'm just saying. To me, Vegas does it right. Now, I think these guys did it right. I think they did it absolutely right. Salute. Boo Corrigan. Boo Corrigan. His brother, Tim, I think it's his brother, runs the NBA stuff for ESPN. Told me after I did one Summer League game, you're the best Summer League announcer we ever had. I know, because I started controversy. New York Six Bulls, baby. Let's show them. New York Six Bulls. Here's what already had to happen. I started looking at this morning. Tennessee, Clemson is awesome. Alabama, fantastic against Kansas State. But here's the deal. All right, you ready? Penn State, Utah is pretty good too. SC, Tulane. I like Tulane. I told you, hire Willie Fritz. We're going to get into hiring in a minute. But here's the deal. When you look at this, all right, when you look at the New York Six Bulls that you're seeing, the first thing the coach has got to answer, who's playing? That sucks. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that sucks. I am. I'm saying, man, like Nick Saban already had to talk about it. Nick Saban already, well, player availability. We hope we can build on this. All right, player availability. We hope we can build on it. I'm all in on it. I'm fine. But do yourself a favor. Don't run to your sports book and bet it yet. Do yourself a favor and find out who in the Sam and Henry is actually going to be playing in the games. Like, is Alabama going to be as good without Bryce Young? I don't know. Just be careful. Is Jaden Daniels going to play? He was injured. That Musburger looked pretty good to me, or whatever the hell his name is. He looked pretty good to me. Just do yourself a favor. All right? And wait. Because I'm in a pool every year. It's fun. It's like, I think you give like $50 or something, and my brother's brother-in-law does it. It's a blast. It's one of those, what do you call it? 35 points for the one you think is going to win the most, all that kind of stuff. It's a blast, but I never fill it out until late because you got to see who's playing. And I don't know. Do we have the Power 6 championship scores, or did I miss that? We don't. The Power 5 champion scores, you see it right there. Hey, look, let me go through that real quick, and then we're going to get into Caleb Williams' fingers. Clemson beat the dog. Hey, DJO, is that you? DJU, whatever? I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go. Please come to Indiana. Isn't it amazing how when all of these great college football analysts tell us about these great college football quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence or DJU, a lot of times they're not great. And the guys that kind of slipped through the cracks, Utah was just too physical. I don't know if you watched. I turned it off. I'm like, USC soft. They can't tackle. LSU had no shot. Let's just put that where it is. And TCU, Max Duggan, baby, why don't we sneak it? Why don't we sneak? How do you not sneak? How do you not sneak? Seriously, I want you to look at me right now. Sonny Dykes, baby. How do we not sneak? Max Duggan is your guy. He is literally the guy. Max Duggan for Heisman. Love that kid. All right. It's a new thing, ladies and gentlemen. When we want to show stuff, we paint our fingernails. When we want to show trash talk, paint your fingernails. You know what I do at Christmas? I just got a pedicure the other day. I really wanted to go get them painted. I usually get them painted green and red. My toenails, though, not my fingernails. And my kids like it, and they laugh at me. I don't know if they like it or care, but they laugh at me, and we have a good time at the pedicure place while I'm getting my nails painted. And every morning I forget, and I look down, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got red and green toenails. But I just got a pedi on Saturday, so I didn't do it. But I'll tell you who did. Caleb Williams. Let's show Caleb Williams and his painted nails, baby. Not very nice. Not F Utah. Not very nice, Caleb Williams. You're going to win the Heisman. You're going to forever get to do those cheesy commercials in the Heisman house. You're going to get to do all those things, but you got your ass beat. No, you did. You got your brains beat out. You got whooped. You got crushed. Literally, you're walking around, you're limping. I don't think Utah got F'd there. I think maybe you did. Utah don't mess around. Utah came to kick some backside, and they did. All right, my favorite thing from the weekend, ladies and gentlemen, my favorite, finally, a coach with sack, and his name is Prime. You know how I am. I'm old school. Fat, old, bald, ridiculous, wearing a cheesy sweatsuit because Illinois State's the best. Anyway, let's hear from Coach Prime.
Son, Junior, stand up. Yeah. He does all our social media, so all the stuff you've been seeing, that's him. The profanity is him as well. Is it? Where's Shador? Shador? And this is your quarterback, all right? He's going to have to earn it, don't believe that. He's going to have to earn it. Yeah, the quarterback's going to have to earn it. The safety made me mad, so I didn't bring him. His brother, he's in my doghouse right now.
There you go. There you go. Let's show a little of the transfer portal of what Deion said.
We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me. And it's Louis. It ain't gonna be no more of a mess that these wonderful fans, the student body, and some of your parents have put up with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming. And when I get here, it's gonna be changed. So I want y'all to get ready to go ahead and jump in that portal and do whatever you're gonna get. Because the more you jump in, the more room you make. Because we bring kids that are smart. Say that, smart. Smart. Tough. Tough.
Oh, yeah. Now we'll see how it goes. I mean, remember Mike Singletary? Can't win with him. Won't win with him. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if the wrong ones jump in the transfer portal and his son isn't good enough at a quarterback, Colorado's going to get their brains beat out because, well, you know, everybody else has talent too. But I am rooting so hard for Deion Sanders, I can't even tell you. I am. I'm rooting hard because I'm so tired of chicken blank coaches. I'm so tired of coaches that make excuses. I'm so tired of coaches that talk accountability but have no accountability. I'm tired of it. And when I saw that yesterday, I thought, you know what? I got no idea. I got no idea whether he's going to win, lose, or draw there. But I know this. There was only 2 hirings, 2, in this entire college football season that are interesting even a little bit. A little bit. One would have been Urban Meyer, but he not going anywhere. And 2 is that man, Deion Sanders. Everything up, Matt Rule. I'm sure he's great. Matt Rule's unbelievable. Matt Rule's the greatest thing ever. I love Matt Rule. Yay, Rod, go fight, win. Please. There's nothing interesting about Matt Rule. And so just stop. There's nothing interesting. It was more interesting when they hired what's-his-face. It was. All right, when we come back, Mike Griffins, we're going to talk college football playoff. We're going to talk why Georgia is going to roll Ohio State, or are they? We're going to talk Michigan. We're going to talk some college foots when we come back. There's nowhere for you to go. Stay right here. Those of you on the YouTube chat, tweet it out. Tweet that our show is rocking and rolling. We'll be right back.
Welcome into the Trey Wallace podcast. Man, setting up for a crazy end to the college football season. We've got college basketball season already in full tilt. Before you know it, college baseball season will be here. But the first episode of the Trey Wallace podcast, happy to have my buddy Braden Gall from 440 Sports. Does a myriad of things. ESPN Radio, Sirius, you name it. Braden's all over it. Braden Gall, what's up, buddy?
Yes, we are bitter rivals in the SEC deep state cabal. That is,
we are
Fox versus ESPN. No, I'm honored to be here. Honored to be with you, man. On your first episode, I could not be more honored to be a part of it, for sure.
No, man, and I really appreciate it. Long relationship with Braden, and this guy knows his stuff. And look, I can't believe the regular season is pretty much over. It's all the stuff that we've gone through this year in college football. You know, and so we sit here now and we wonder, okay, what is the playoffs look like? What are these, New Year's Six bowl games going to look like? So let's kind of start from there, Braden. Like after the chaos of this past weekend, and the rankings are going to come out and they'll be set where they're at. But your takeaways from how we look at the national championship picture as we sit here right now on this Wednesday.
I think there's two things. One sort of a reminder to college football fans, and one is sort of forward-looking, which I think is the point of your question. It feels like maybe there are multiple tiers at the top, but that Georgia is just significantly better than everybody else. I said back in August, I actually thought Georgia was wildly underrated at number 3. I spent the entire summer telling people this. I don't know why people didn't listen. But if you're going to draw another line, it seems like Ohio State for now, depending on what takes place, of course, against Michigan. I think Michigan, if Blake Corum is healthy, can go in there and actually win that game.
Hey, welcome back. He is Monday. That's right. He's just Monday. When you think of Monday, you think of Mike Griffiths. You just do. I'm sorry. If it's Monday, it's Mike Griffin. I mean, it just is. Mike of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Dog Nation, joins the Dogs, take on the Ohio State University. A great matchup. Mike, I said this a couple weeks ago. People were saying these are the two most talented teams in the country. Michigan then whomps Ohio State, makes them look sick. What do you think as you saw the matchup?
Yeah, I think it's the marquee matchup. I think it's why it's the 8 p.m. game. I think it's the two most talented teams in the college football playoff. And, yeah, Michigan won on the field, and kudos to Michigan for winning that day in Columbus. But I think this is the toughest straw that Georgia could have gotten out of any team in the country. I think this is the team that can challenge them in terms of matchup, right? And, Dan, you played sports. You understand that, sometimes you just don't match up well with certain teams for whatever reason. And this is a really difficult matchup for Georgia. And all you got to do is look in your rearview mirror and see that LSU put up over 500 yards of offense and 30 points. And I know there's some Georgia people saying, they were in the prevent defense. No, look closer. LSU controlled the first quarter of play. They outgained Georgia. This is 2 games in a row now that Georgia's been outplayed in the first quarter, Georgia Tech and now LSU. And here comes Ohio State, a team that, has caught a second wind, a second life. I mean, to me, there's probably no greater pick-me-up than the concept of thinking that your season's over with, or facing that, or staring down the barrel of that, and then being given new life, given a second chance. And so here comes Ohio State with all their talent, with the nation's most efficient passer, with the nation's top total offense in the college football playoff. And they get a second life, a second chance to play a Georgia team that's, as Kirby Smart said, not comprehensible, not understandable. He said the other night they played some of their best football, some of their worst football. This is a team that's just done enough. Well, that sounds pretty cool until that day that doing enough, playing it close. Sooner or later, Dan, that gets you beat. If you let good teams hang around, Missouri had Georgia down by 10 points. That wasn't an illusion. Georgia Tech, if not for a drop pass, could have been up for Georgia Tech. Middle of the second quarter, a guy drops a pass. I mean, I'm telling you, this is not last year's Georgia team. They don't have the margin for error that last year's team did. And in C.J. Stroud, they're playing a guy, I don't think he's quite Bryce Young, but this guy's special. I know he didn't play good against Michigan. That's a small snapshot, though. Incredibly talented team, incredibly talented quarterback. The emotional intangibles favor Ohio State. I think Georgia's better. I think Georgia should win. But this game this is not an open shut 1-4. There's a reason why the spread for the 2-3 game is bigger than it is for this game.
You know, Mike, I think really it was the worst case scenario. Now, look, Georgia's the best team in the country. They've proven it. But it was the worst case scenario, right? USC, that's not Ohio State. TCU, that's not Ohio State. It's worst case scenario, really, for Georgia.
Well, I mean, it's the worst case out of the best case, right? You want to be number one. You want to be the SEC champions. That's something Georgia hadn't done since 2017. I mean, Kirby Smart just keeps winning. They've got tremendous momentum as they go into the free agency period. I mean, you talk about college football being ready to be put on top of its head. There's a 45-day window that opens up today where anybody can go anywhere. And there's nobody, as I said, I think I said last week on the show, I'll bet you 80% of the guys at some point during the season thought to themselves, should I go in the transfer portal? And really self-evaluated. There's not many guys that are just ironclad for sure coming back unless – they're tremendous talents that just aren't draft eligible. Like Brock Bowers for Georgia. He's only a second-gear guy. He's coming back because this offense and Todd Monken had said, assuming that Todd Monken's coming back, Dan, because that's another one of the moving pieces here. Right when you think you figured it out, a coach makes a move and he gets a head coaching opportunity we don't know. I mean, I don't know that he's going to get those opportunities. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He's paid very well at Georgia. But this whole thing is so fluid. And that just isn't what we've grown comfortable with over the years in college athletics. It used to be, you got this 4-year window. You're going to maybe 5 if there's an injury or if he's a developmental player, and you're going to bring the guy along and the school's going to get behind him and he's going to love the school forever. And now it's a year-to-year contract, if that even.
Is there any thought, a friend of mine asked me this last night, is there any thought that we know it's going to happen in the other bowls. We know it's going to happen even in Alabama. Is there any way that one on these 4 teams sits this out? There is no chance, right? None.
Well, I never say never. I think that you have to look at the health of the. You got to look at the health of the injury status of the players. I don't think there's anybody, to answer your question, that would strike me as odd. There would have to be extenuating circumstances. Player A doesn't think he's quite 100% and, wants some incentive from the team to play. I think my bigger question is what's going to be the added incentive, or what is the understood responsibility, not necessarily for the playoff, because I remember talking with a former top Georgia pick, and he didn't play in the bowl game, but he said, you know what, if it was a playoff game, I would have played. But it wasn't a playoff game, so he didn't. So right now, that's kind of the code, I guess. But my question is, will bowls have to start providing some incentive or come up with potential NIL sponsors to lure the best players into playing? Like, Bryce Young, will he play in the Sugar Bowl? I don't know. I mean, to me, that's potential number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft. I don't know if I'm Bryce Young if I play in that game unless there's some added incentive because you're asking me to take a risk. Or is it just an understood responsibility that if you're on this team that you should play? I mean, we want to see everything in writing these days. This is where it's at. This is the point that it's gotten to. I mean, you saw Deion Sanders go in there and tell basically everybody that nobody's job was safe. Well, that's a game changer for me if I go play for Deion Sanders. If I got a coach like that, I need to see some things in writing then, coach. I need some guarantees. If you can come in and tell me you're going to take my job and my security at my university, then I'm going to need some assurances before I go play for you. I need to know the trade-off, right? You want me to go to Colorado? A team was 1-11 because of you? And what's my guarantee that you're going to be there beyond 2 years? You didn't stay very long at your last job. What if an NFL job comes up? What if an SEC job comes up? I want my stuff in writing. So while a lot of people say, man, that was great TV, watching Deion go in there and tell those kids how it is, hey, those kids weren't the only one watching. There were some prospects watching. And as cool as it might have been, they're thinking to themselves, wow, I don't know if I want to play. I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. The reality of it is those conversations happen everywhere. But to me, Dan, this is a private relationship between team and players. And I'm still not quite sure how I feel about the cameras being in there for that talk. And you can say, oh, it's great TV. There's no harm in it. Well, when do the cameras stop? Is Deion going to be mad if a player brings a microphone and a camera into one of the meetings when maybe he admits he made the wrong call in a game and it's his fault? Guys, hey, that loss is on me. Okay, are we going to put that on camera? Are we going to put Deion on camera when he says, you know what? I didn't hire the best staff. I'm going to have to make some changes. I'm sorry that you suffered on whatever position group because the guy I hired wasn't good enough, but I'm going to hire somebody better if you come back. Are the cameras going to be on for that? So I'm just not sure. And maybe I'm just old-fashioned, right? Maybe, look, the cameras are everywhere. Antonio Brown brought it into the Steelers. Mike Tomlin didn't like that. Remember that when Antonio Brown brought the cameras into the Steelers? And now Deion's bringing – is anything sacred? So where are the relationships? There's a lot of dynamics right now that different people are going to have different comfort. And maybe younger people have a greater comfort level for that level of access and exposure. But for me, I feel like there's certain things between coach and players that I think are more intimate that probably should be kept private. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Again, Dan, it took me out of my comfort zone. That's not necessarily a bad thing. We all have to change with the times. But it's definitely something we're discussing today, obviously.
I liked it. I actually really liked it. But I also said, yeah, this is crap. I mean, this is total crap. Now, what happens if the best players do go into portal? You think, and maybe it's true. Maybe he gets guys. But you're so right. You're so absolutely right. It's all theater right now. And it drives me nuts because I am the ultimate old school guy. I like the fact that I'm telling people, hey, look, you were 1-11. You can get on. You can go ahead. I don't like it on camera except for the job that I have because I had to do that. I had to do that at one point in my career when I went to Bowling Green. Hey, look, you guys are great. You got to go if you don't want to do it. I get it, but I don't want anybody else seeing that. And then the other thing is everybody has all the answers. I mean, all the answers until you line up and play the Mike Tyson line. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. If the best players leave, and some guys don't want to come that he thinks he's going to get, particularly a good quarterback, we'll see. But I got to get to something else. Speaking of punched in the face, is this true? Is Michigan, you wrote about this, so it is true. Is Michigan talking about revenge against Georgia? Are they speaking this?
Yeah. I mean, that's the word that the tight end used, and I forget his name because I'd never heard of him before, and I'll probably never hear about him again. But for one day, he became famous because he used the word revenge. And I've not heard many people call Georgia out. That's kind of one of those sleeping dog things. You don't really. Tennessee did a little bit. Tennessee talked a bit before that game with Georgia, and the results weren't pretty. It was 24-6 at halftime, and the Georgia crowd responded when a former Tennessee quarterback said that playing between the hedges was overrated, and the crowd wasn't very loud, and they put up 136 decibels and forced 6 false starts that led to, and there was also 6 sacks. Georgia will respond. You just don't challenge these teams from the South like this, Dan. I've explained it before. There's a different level of pride and investment in college football in the South. And don't get me wrong, there's other programs, other places, and they put their hearts into it. But it's not as integrated into the community as college football is in the South, into the lifestyle, into the daily activity. And if you're going to openly challenge a player or a team in the SEC, it doesn't just go away until the next commercial break, like maybe out on the West Coast where everybody wants to go surfing or buy whatever is legal now, right? They're going to live with it 365, 7 days a week, because this is what we talk about every single day of the week, every hour, every minute, every tweet, every direct message, everything. These kids don't escape it. And so these Georgia players, and Kirby's the master of the billboard, right? They had a couple of players the other day doing a special with the CBS 46 in Atlanta the other day, and they're like, yeah, they were. I don't know that Kirby did it, but whoever does the bulletin board material had Gus Malzahn's quote on the TV screen that we whipped the dog crap out of them. And so that was the motivation. And they had pictures of the players in the year. They live this. This is just a big mistake, right? I think Michigan will get by TCU because I think TCU is the weakest of the 4 teams. I like seeing TCU. I like the grittiness of Max Duggan. I like the Sonny Dykes. I like the whole story. But are they one of the 4 best teams? No, they're not. Alabama would beat TCU by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Tennessee probably would too. But this is how we play the game. There are some politics involved. We have to make the championship games count. We have to bring everybody to the table and pretend like every conference is on an equal playing field and they're all level and they're all the same. They're not, right? And so Michigan drew TCU. They got the lucky draw. And Georgia drew a really tough Ohio State team. Probably wouldn't beat Alabama head-to-head, but a tougher matchup because Georgia's not as familiar with the Ohio State as they are Alabama.
One of the things, you're so right. It was just like it probably still is. Maybe it used to be with Big Ten basketball. Big Ten basketball, people put more into it. The South kind of didn't. Now the South has said, screw this. We're going to get some damn good coaches in the Southeastern Conference in basketball, and we're going to play the brakes off everybody. And it's not just going to be Kentucky. I totally get what you're saying, and I totally agree. All right. Let me go this route. Saban went on television and did what I think you're supposed to do. I mean, I don't think he really had an argument, because he's saying, well, we lost 2 games in the last seconds. Well, you won 2 games, one against a lousy team in the last second. What'd you think of Saban going on?
I thought it was great. I thought that's what I'd want my coach to do. If I played for a coach, I'd want him to lobby for me.
Right.
I'd want him to make a case. I didn't have a problem with it. I know that some people took some satisfaction in it because Nick Saban's been on top of the sport, and here he got brought down to the pack, and we want to pretend like he's just like everybody else. He's not. He's the greatest coach of this generation. He's won the most championships. Don't be offended. Kirby Smart's doing great things. He could be on his way to his 2nd national title. But Nick's got 6. He's done it at different schools. Things didn't go well. He did not handle the changes in the sport as well as Kirby Smart did. Maybe Kirby's the better coach now that we're talking these different rules and these different dynamics and this shifting earth that requires that your program be built a little more versatile, require a better staff across the board, however you want to say it. But I didn't have any problem with it at all. And to be honest with you, I think he made a pretty good case for himself, right? Because he's right. If we're talking about the 4 best teams, Alabama's one of the 4 best teams. Las Vegas will tell you that. All you got to do is look at the spread. Who people are going to bet on, right? They know that Alabama would beat probably 3 of these 4 teams in the playoffs head-to-head. I don't think they'd beat Georgia, right? But that isn't how it's cut out. Now, a long time ago, being 2017, it was the 4 best teams. And Alabama got in, even though they lost by double digits to Auburn in their final regular season game. And everybody goes, oh, well, that's how it's going to be. It's the 4 best teams. And part of it was because Nick Saban was the coach, and he had that street cred. But then 1 year later, Georgia was one of the 4 best teams. They lost to an Alabama team that beat everybody by 20 points or more in the regular season, something that hadn't happened since the 1800s in college football. And they had to come from 2 touchdowns behind to beat Georgia by 1 score. But instead, an Oklahoma team that won the Big 12 got in because of quote-unquote protocol. They introduced this protocol rule. And everybody was freaking out. Feinbaum, Kirk Herbstreit, everybody's going, wait a minute. This is politics. Well, it was. And Oklahoma got in. And, oh, by the way, they trailed Alabama 28-0 within 16 minutes. So the 4 best didn't get in 2018. I called it out. I got barbecued for it. I got challenged. Oh, how dare I, challenge the integrity of all this other stuff. Now it's commonplace for us to sit there and go, for Reese Davis to sit there and say to Boo Kerrigan, you're telling me not one person brought up the fact that you wanted to avoid a Michigan-Ohio State rematch in a 2-3? And Corrigan says, not in the room. Okay, well, that told me everything. What he didn't say is not at all. He said, not in the room. Okay, outside the room, somebody said, you know what? We really would prefer to avoid this rematch. So this is just the word, but I use this example, right? This 13-member committee, and Bill Hancock runs it, and I love this guy. They use this guy at the head of it because he's one of the nicest, most genuine, honest people on the planet. So they put him above this flawed system because we all love and trust Bill Hancock. We're going to be dealing with the 13-member committee moving forward, and I don't like it. But like I said, It's like, maybe the guy you voted for is not in office. The other guy won, and you may not like his politics, but doggone it, that's, your president, your governor, or whatever. And that's who you got to support. And this is part of the apple is this 13-member committee. And I don't like it. I don't necessarily think it's the best way, but I don't necessarily know that it's truly designed in fairness as much as it is exposure and the ability to make money. And that's what it's going to do. And it is propelling college football forward. And if that's the necessary evil that we need to find the money to pay these players and keep the sport healthy and grow it, then apparently this is the path we're going to be on.
Mike, I think Vegas should do it all. I've said this and I'll keep saying, I think they should set up the NCAA basketball tournament. I think they should set this up. I do. I just think, you know what? We're going to get there anyway. Bunch of white dudes sitting in a room in Indianapolis or in Texas or wherever. I swear in the NCAA tournament, let Vegas seed it, let Vegas set it, and let's go. I swear. I'm at that point, man.
Who's to say they already don't have influence, Dan? Who's to say they don't already have influence?
I agree with that. And one of the things NCAA always kept, well, Vegas no good. We can't Vegas. Shoot, there's like 5 conference tournaments in Vegas, right, in basketball. The Pac-12 is in Vegas, championship game. The NCAA Final Four is coming to Vegas later on this decade. Just put it Vegas. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Dan, if you can think it, if you can dream it, then it's possible. Just remember that.
There you go. My line is more, it's not a lie if you believe it, Mike. That's kind of where I Thank you. I love talking to Mike Griffin. He's right. Look, this is going to be unbelievable. I mean, it's a great matchup. Nobody can tell me. How do you not talk about whether you're going to have Michigan and Ohio State? I don't care, room or out of the room. You got to talk about that matchup. They're full of crap. That's great stuff. It really was. And look, I don't care. I've said this before, I'll say this again, and I will never stop saying it. What I care about is my fat, being able to sit down and watch. That's right, watch great football. That's what I say. I got to get a tan, by the way. I'm sorry, I got to get a tan. All right, well, we got some interesting stuff. The United States lost to the Netherlands, and I got to tell you, they got their brains beat out. They did. They got their brains beat out. Look, I don't know whether the United States is going to get good in 4 years. I have no idea, but I know this. The Netherlands were way better. You could see that early. They were quicker. They were tougher. United States had to play a perfect game. I called it the scoring area. I don't give a dang what you guys call it, but in the area, in that boxed area in front of the goal, the United States looked unorganized, didn't have any quickness, and you know what? Truth of the matter is the Netherlands just whooped them. So, since I was in high school back in the 80s, I've heard from all of you wonks that soccer is coming. You just wait. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. That's the coach, and that's the star, Pulisic. All right. Hey, look, Pulisic didn't look any better than 5 of the guys that the Netherlands had. And this isn't a criticism of the United States. If we're going to talk about sports in our country, all right, then we got to talk honestly about sports in our country. We just can't wax philosophic that, oh my God, it's so great. No, they were not nearly as good, they being the United States, as the Netherlands. They weren't as quick, they weren't as organized, they weren't as strong, they weren't as explosive. It was kind of, I hate to say it was kind of simple to see. Hey, did you see this? Your newspaper, my newspaper, the Indy Star, everyone's newspaper has talked about Elon Musk and Twitter ever since Elon Musk got involved in buying Twitter. Over the weekend, Friday, Elon Musk dropped an absolute bombshell about the Biden cartel. The Biden crime family and the clowns that worked at Twitter were in cahoots. Censorship was all the rage. Don't let guys like James Woods have a Twitter account. Get these guys off that thing conservatively. Well, we all knew what was going to happen. Not one newspaper was ever going to report on it. NPR said, well, this is nonsense, really? So our good friend and our boss and our owner, Clay Travis, He tweeted, let's show it, and guess who tweeted back? Elon Musk. There's not one single article about Elon Musk or the Twitter email release last night on the New York Times app this morning. There wasn't in the Indy Star. Indy Star talks about everything. We just had our renowned columnists go off on everybody, including me, veiled, that we didn't really respect LeBron James. No. That's because the New York Times has become, for all intents and purposes, an unregistered lobbying firm for far-left politicians. We know this. You know, you heard Jim Banks, the representative here in the great state of Indiana, tell you on this show, look, whatever happens, the Indy Star already has the headline written. Jim Banks doesn't vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which has so much pork in it you can't, and actually increased inflation. The headline was already written. So I thought that was fun. I did. I thought that was fun. Good for Elon Musk. And good for Clay. And I looked at it. I said it. Indy Star did 2,000 words on I'm a meanie. Dan's a meanie. They got two guys, both been fired from my company, to say, we don't like Dan. Okay, great. But nothing on Elon Musk? Nothing on the president? Nothing on the cartel? Nothing? Interesting. Very, very interesting, as they used to say on Hogan's Heroes, one of America's greatest shows. How much would you pay to see Nancy Pelosi eat a hot dog? How much would you pay? How much would you pay to see Nancy Pelosi eat a damn hot dog? I got to tell you, I would puke. Honest to God. Look at her. She eats hot dogs every day. How much would you pay? I would pay nothing. Nancy Pelosi eating a hot dog. She eats a hot dog a day. Remember when that idiot got in front of her $10,000 refrigerator and showed all the fancy ice cream she had? These people are complete idiots. Seriously. These people are complete idiots. I mean, stone cold dumbasses. They're the dumbest of the dumb, and I've told you this before. When Nancy Pelosi and the rest of these clowns were in high school, college, nobody paid attention to them. Then they become politicians because they go to school. They're wonks. They're smart. And now all of a sudden people pay attention to them and they're idiots. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, they have no idea how to relate. Are we going to get another speech from Jolt and Joe Biden about the long, cold, deathly winter? When you're sitting at your table and your mom says, hey, guys, just a little bit of breathing room. Stop it, stupid. Just stop it. Morons. Total freaking morons these people are. She told Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, that she likes a good hot dog. Good for her. Why is this news? I don't know. Why do I care? I don't. There's literally nothing about Nancy Pelosi that makes me care, but I do get a kick out of it. I do. I think it's very funny that she's such an idiot that she thinks we care about this stuff, so let's care about it. Let's care about Nancy Pelosi. What a freaking idiot. Anyway, I mean, and these people are running our country. I'm sad for me. I am. All right, I am. What are you talking about? Chad Withrow going to join us when we come back. Let's break down all the NFL, including, Mike Vrabel pissed about his team. Colts embarrassing. I mean, the Colts could. I'm a leader of men. I. Who am I? Jeff Saturday. We'll be right back.
Two teams went out. One was actually a team from the unit that I now play on TV that was attached to us. They went out. They went on the front side, or went around to go to the front side of this other house. And my team was basically going towards the back side of the house. So very shortly, what happened was it was the wrong house. And when we hit that one house, the actual house it was, which was next door, which is not exactly next door because Sutter City is kind of weird of how it's built. But, you know, they heard us. They were getting ready, prepping, their gear, and so they were ready to go. So when that team came around, a bunch of dudes opened up out of the front, what I assume would be the living room, with AKs and shot. I think they shot 3. If I'm not mistaken, they shot 3 of the members of that team. 2 of them were pretty much out of the fight at that point. But they were, it was heavy. I wasn't on that side of the house, but just hearing it, I was like, oh man, that's extreme. So I ran into the back door, which came into the kitchen, cleared through there, went in the hallway, and those same guys, as we approached that room, shot through the walls of that hallway, shot the guy literally right next to me. So then we backed off, and then we were and I'd have to draw it out, but we were in a tactical position that was just there wasn't a lot we could do. So we were trying to kind of figure out how to solve it. And the next thing I know, I remember just the whole room, or actually it wasn't really a room, it was the hallway, so it was more like a tube straight at me, and just everything exploded. And I actually remember hitting the ground and looking up down the hallway. And I was just confused.
All right. My Colts, his Titans. His Titans, though, Chad Withrow, you get to look at the playoffs for a variety of reasons, mostly because the AFC South is exactly who we think they are. Let's go Titans first. Mike Vrabel says they're at a crossroads. He ain't happy.
Well, he shouldn't be happy. Yeah, we were talking all week about this, A.J. Brown revenge game coming up for the Eagles and against the Titans. And all week the talk was, well, do you think that Mike Vrabel is going to come up with a game plan where they're going to double and triple and put all the attention on A.J. Brown just to slow him down, even if it hurts their chances of winning? And I'm thinking there's no way that's going to happen, because if you see Mike Vrabel's reaction when that trade is announced on draft night, he's as angry as anyone, any Titans fan out there that trade happened, because he knows his team in the immediacy gets a lot worse without A.J. Brown. So I didn't think any of that was going to happen. And A.J. Brown made them pay. He's a great player. He played great in this game, and he made his former team pay for trading him away. Had some things to say after the game also. But look, this Titans team, Dan, I sound like a broken record here, but going back to that home loss to the Cincinnati Bengals a year ago, this is just simply a team that they get more out of less under Mike Vrabel, especially on defense. But their offense was challenged a season ago, even with A.J. Brown. Take A.J. Brown out of the mix, and it's suddenly a team that can't challenge you down the field. They can't challenge you in the passing game at all. I think Chig Okonkwo, the rookie tight end, could be a player. I think Treylon Burks could eventually be a player. Had a great touchdown grab yesterday. I have no idea how he holds on to the football, as he clearly gets knocked out on the play and concussed in the end zone. But he started to come alive a little bit for this Titans offense. But right now, this season, the Titans only made themselves worse from a year ago by trading away A.J. Brown. Current projection, if the season ended today, they would host Cincinnati in the first round again. And I don't think that game would be that close, honestly, in the playoffs. So, look, it's a Titans team that's challenged, but it's a division that's even more challenged. So they're going to win the division again. I just don't know how long this could last from a Titans perspective.
You know what? There's nothing better for a player than to play against his old team and whoop them. He had a big night. He did. He had a big night. What do you have to say after the game?
So, the whole thing with A.J. Brown, it's just fascinating to me because of how the rest of the league handled their young, talented receivers, right? Deebo Samuel pulled the same thing. It's an agent game. You start to act like you're going to hold out and you demand more money and this and that. But ultimately these guys aren't going to hold out for a season. DK Metcalf played the same thing. Terry McLaurin played the same thing. All three of those guys end up getting the contract they wanted from their current teams, and they stay with those teams. The one exception is A.J. Brown. For whatever reason, John Robinson, I don't know if he panicked on this, thinking that he was going to be a problem to the team or a cancer in the locker room or whatever. That was not who A.J. Brown was in his time with the Titans. But he decided, I'm not going to deal with it. If he's got a big issue or if he's even threatening to sit out during training camp, that's not what we're about. I'm going to trade him away right now, trade up into the first round, draft a guy I think could eventually be an A.J. Brown, and maybe Treylon Burks out of Arkansas in his rookie year will eventually be A.J. Brown. But the bottom line is he's not A.J. Brown right now. And leading up to the game, A.J. Brown was asked about the trade, and he said, I feel like I've already won because I set my family up for the foreseeable future, talking about the contract that he received. There's no way to look at this trade and not say that he won, Dan. I mean, they're 11-1, the Philadelphia Eagles. He instantly upgraded that offense. He's helped Jalen Hurts reach, I think, the top of the MVP totem pole right now. So there's no way to look at it and say that A.J. Brown didn't win right now and for the long term by demanding that trade and getting all the dollars that he wanted out of Philly. And then post-game, he said what I expected him to say. Look, I tried to downplay it, but this one meant a lot. That was a place I wanted to spend my entire career, and they traded me away. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend that it doesn't mean more to me in this game. This is one that I circled and a game that meant a lot to me. And honestly, good for A.J. Brown. He played the same game that a lot of NFL players play. He got paid. I don't think he really wanted to be traded. I think he was doing what his agent told him to do in order to get the contract that he wanted from the Titans. John Robinson did not abide by that. He trades him away. But now he's on a better team, and they've got a legitimate chance at the Super Bowl. The Eagles, every time they've started 10-1 in their history, going back to 1949, has either won an NFL championship or played for an NFL championship. And we're talking even pre-Super Bowl era Eagles teams. And the team now is 11-1. So I think the Eagles have a great shot at winning it all.
I want to go back to something and piggyback on what you said about the Eagles. I know a lot of people love Mahomes. I know Burrow, but I got to tell you, the MVP for me, and I said this last week, is Jalen Hurts. What he's done with this team. Yesterday over 300 yards passing against a Mike Vrabel team. I mean, what are you going to do? He is the MVP right now.
Yeah, he is. And that offense cooks. I mean, one of the best rushing offenses in the league, behind the best offensive line. Here's what's crazy about that game yesterday also, Dan. 12 penalties, 7 false starts of those 12 penalties for an Eagles offensive line that's been the best in the NFL all year, and it didn't even affect that Eagles team. Didn't hurt them one bit, all of those penalties. They would start at 1st and 15, and it was still no problem to pick up the first down. Why? Not because of the rushing game. They had one of their worst rushing efforts on the season because Jalen Hurts could sit back in the pocket and do whatever he wanted passing the football. He's been incredible. He's one of those guys. Tua's another one. The young quarterbacks in the league that coming into this season, it was going to be a prove-it year because the front offices of those teams did everything in their power to upgrade around them. Tyreek Hill in Miami with Tua. A.J. Brown to go along with Devontae Smith as a first-round pick in Philly. And look at what Tua also has done a great job. But look at what those guys have done with better weapons around them, especially Jalen Hurts. I mean, he is right now. I think it's 1A and 1B for the MVP. And I know Jonathan Hutton will have his NFL awards watch column for Outkick.com later this week. But I really do believe that it's after yesterday. It is Jalen Hurts 1A, Patrick Mahomes 1B. It's going to flip-flop down the stretch based on the performances of these two guys. But I've been super impressed with Jalen Hurts. I've been super impressed just watching him lead the team also. There's intangibles with Jalen Hurts that, even a dummy like me can watch the game and see his leadership qualities with that Eagles team.
You feel sorry for us here in Indy?
I don't feel sorry for you, Dan, for this reason. As someone who's covered and watched the Titans for years, because you guys went from Peyton Manning with the number 1 overall pick and then had one bad year and immediately drafted Andrew Luck, who was kind of the next Peyton Manning. I don't have any issue with that. Sorry, I was hearing something there in the background. So I don't feel bad for you for that reason, Dan, because you went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. Now, when Andrew Luck announced his retirement, it's been bad from that point on. So that part of it, I feel a little bit bad for you. 33 points in the fourth quarter for the Cowboys, though. That's not good. Dan, I know you were talking about it, but I am curious now. The Jeff Saturday conversation, and it always felt to me like Jim Irsay wanted to give him the interim job so they could do something positive, and then he could just elevate him to head coach. I don't know that that's the case right now, but I do feel like this is going to lead to him having some sort of role with the organization. I just don't know what that is with this Colts team.
Somebody asked me this. And this is an interesting question. You're Jeff Saturday, and let's just say he doesn't have a role, okay? And he jumps back to TV, and what he does is Mondays and Tuesdays is his job, and he jumps around with Ryan Clark, and he sits at the desk, and he analyzes. Would anybody listen now?
Would anybody listen to a failed coach? How many failed coaches out there are
all of us failed coaches. All of us failed coaches get listened to, and here I am. But I'm just saying, here's a guy that, knows everything and comes in, I'm a leader of men, I'm all this. And it's really, I hate to say this because he's a good guy, really good guy. He doesn't need my human being approval, but this is embarrassing, Chad. This is beyond just, hey, we're getting our brains beat out once in a while. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, I remember a big discussion about – it's an interesting topic because remember when Matt Millen was terrible, drafting all those receivers with the Lions? And then he went back to like Big Ten Network and Fox, I think, at the time. And everyone was saying, how could you employ this guy and put him on big games and expect us to listen to him with any legitimacy? And I'm thinking, well, Matt Millen had a life in football before he was the failed Detroit Lions GM, Matt Millen. And if he's good at discussing the game, he's good at discussing the game. And I'm going to listen to the guy no matter what. I think Jeff Saturday's good on TV. I think he knows the game. There's nothing that could happen with this Colts team that would make me not pay attention to what he's saying if he goes back to being an analyst. Another good example is Dan Orlovsky. I think Dan Orlovsky's terrific at discussing the game on ESPN, and we've had him on our show a bunch. But, we'd have him on and people would say, why are you having this guy on who ran out of the back of the end zone unknowingly when he was with the Colts? Why are you having this guy on who was a terrible NFL quarterback? Trent Dilfer's another one. He's the head coach at UAB, but there was a time where he was a guy who won a Super Bowl but was not that great as an NFL quarterback, and he's even self-deprecating about his NFL quarterback play, and people would say, well, why would you listen to a guy who wasn't a great NFL quarterback? So, look, I don't really get into that part of it as much. I think if Jeff Saturday was good on TV before, he could go be the interim coach for the Colts and be terrible at that job and then still go back and be really good at discussing the game. So it's not going to make me think any less of Jeff Saturday or his opinion or his analysis of football, even if, they're not very good right now with the Colts. And this Colts team is just in need of direction. There's a lot of things going on beyond Jeff Saturday that's not good.
Let me go the other way from last night. Obviously, I'm focused on the Colts because I'm here in Indianapolis. Colts right there for a while, with Dallas. How good is Dallas?
I think Dallas, the Eagles and the Cowboys, the top of that division is a fascinating one to me because I think Dak Prescott, I'm not as big on Dak Prescott as a lot of people around the league are on him. Last night it was a pretty pedestrian type stat line. I don't think he threw for over 200 yards. But when you mix in Pollard and what he can do and then a healthy Zeke Elliott, their running game is really good. That defense may be the best in the league. Micah Parsons is the best defensive player in the league. I don't think there's any doubt right now. He affects the game more than any other defensive player. He, to me, is sort of what Aaron Donald was the last 3 or 4 years. in terms of a game wrecker on defense and one that can really change a game around. So I'm really impressed with Micah Parsons and what Dan Quinn, of course, former, Matt Ryan's former coach of the Falcons, has done with that Cowboys defense. I think they're a team built to win in the playoffs. I feel the same way about the Eagles. I know they still have one more matchup coming up, so that's going to be one to watch. I really think, the the teams that beat the Titans and Colts yesterday, the supremacy of that NFC East with Eagles, then Cowboys, as opposed to AFC South, Titans, Colts, really showed through yesterday. And I watch both teams and think either one of them's got a great shot at winning the Super Bowl this year because of the way they're built, and especially with Micah Parsons on defense for the Cowboys. He's the most impressive part of that team to me.
Hey, Chad, I know this doesn't – I don't know where this is headed, but if you're going to talk NFL, you got to talk a little bit about what Dan Campbell has been able to resurrect here, don't you? I mean, come on. He's pretty good.
So we got into this discussion yesterday. Hutton and I host a post-game show for the Titans here in Nashville, and we were talking about Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, who just beat your Colts last week, and we were saying, hey, if there's an organization led by a head coach that's not just going to roll over and quit, even though they're not going to go to the playoffs, it's Pittsburgh, and it's Mike Tomlin. That's an organization that, because of him and how long he's been around doing this, they're going to keep playing, and Kenny Pickett's going to keep getting better. So they beat the Colts, then they beat the Falcons, and that's a team that's not going to quit. And I started to think to myself, and I'm glad you brought this up, Dan, because we didn't have time for me to bring it up yesterday. But I think about the Lions, and a year ago they were miserable, but they won a few games down the stretch. And that got people thinking, hey, this team's still playing hard for Dan Campbell. And then this year starts, and the Lions once again, same old Lions. They're terrible again. No one should ever believe in this team. And that was the case for a while. And now what's happening? Now they're 5-7. Now they're winning some games. They're stringing wins along. They had a great chance at the upset of the Bills at home on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm thinking, for all the talk about biting kneecaps and all the issues with Dan Campbell, and people like to make fun of him, I got to give the guy a lot of credit. Whatever he's doing in that locker room and however he's interacting with his guys, that's a team that may not be the best coach schematically week to week, but they're not quitting. A year ago, they had every chance to quit. They were terrible. I don't think they quit down the stretch. And I watch this team now this year, and I'm thinking it's a team that doesn't quit. So there's still a lot of questions about Dan Campbell, certainly a ton of questions about Detroit, but they get Jameson Williams back yesterday for the first time. Their rookie from Alabama, the wide receiver. I'm impressed with the level of fight under Dan Campbell, much like the expected level of fight we got for Mike Tomlin's team with Pittsburgh this season.
Mike Tomlin, I've said this, Chad, if you go through the history of the NFL, and don't tell me about the Bears haven't been relevant since '85, but if you're going to say, and when I was a little kid, the Steelers were horrible. They were actually in the same division as the Bears. But anyway, if you were going to go, let's say since the 70s till now, toughest culture, toughest people, I think the Steelers, maybe they're not number one, I don't know, but they're 1A. So I'm shocked. I also said, and this I was wrong about, I was at Colts camp for 2 days, however long the Lions were there, doing those scrimmages. And I walked out of there and I said, I got to tell you, if DeAndre Swift stays healthy, they're every bit as good as the Colts. If the Colts are supposed to be good, they're every bit as good. If the Colts are supposed to be bad, Detroit is every bit as good. So I agree exactly with what you're saying. This is a fun story that I don't think we pay attention to. I do.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there's so few teams in the NFL that truly have a culture and identity in terms of it's ingrained in the DNA of their franchise. Pittsburgh is absolutely number one, top of the list of when I think of a Steelers player, I think of a certain type of player, and I think of a certain type of attitude and a certain type of toughness. And that goes back to Chuck Noll. They weren't very good, though, in the 80s for a time, right? And then Bill Cowher comes along and instills that same level of toughness. And Bill Cowher hands off to Mike Tomlin, and that same level of toughness and accountability is there. And that I think that's passed down from ownership. I think the Rooney family, that's ingrained in their DNA. So that's something that's not going to change with the Steelers. The other one I always think about are the Baltimore Ravens. There's a certain toughness about the Ravens over the years, really since that, the Ray Lewis-led championship team all the way back in 2000 and even leading up to that team. Since then, when the Ravens draft a player, it clicks in my head and I think, that's a Ravens player. That makes perfect sense for the Ravens when they go out and draft someone on defense or even on offense at times. And I think that fits with the Ravens' MO and identity. And I do find it interesting that both teams are in the same division. It's almost like the Steelers' mindset sort of bred the Ravens' mindset, and then now they go head-to-head twice a year within that division. Who's the next franchise to sort of take the reins of that and actually build that within their DNA? I think the Titans could be one of those types of teams if Mike Vrabel's there for a long time. I think John Robinson, even though he has swung and missed on some draft picks recently, I think he shares that sort of DNA and toughness with Mike Vrabel and understands the type of players that they want for the Titans, but they're not there yet. And then you bring up the Lions, and people are going to laugh at this because the Lions have been so bad. But if Dan Campbell has his way and can get some synergy going within the organization and they can share the same mindset, if it's a team that if your baseline level is, even if things are going tough, we're going to be passionate and emotional about our job, and we're going to work as hard as possible, and we're never going to quit, and we're going to get better as the season goes along. If you can do that, and that's the baseline, and you can get the players that fit that mentality, I mean, why not, the Lions at some point also? But whoever it is, it amazes me that you can't get more of that across the league. And I understand that to some levels it's a transient type league, and you're built by your quarterback and your quarterback leadership. Great example is the Patriots. Patriots are still the Patriots under Bill Belichick, but they're not the capital P Patriots without Tom Brady, because Tom Brady led that locker room and that toughness and the way they went about their business just as much as Bill Belichick for so many years. So I guess I say all this just to say, and to close with it by saying it's tough to do. It's tough to build that level of culture within an organization, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have done it for years and years.
Hey, you good with where Tennessee is? You good with the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think, just from a Tennessee perspective with Josh Heupel, if you'd have told me with the mess he inherited from Jeremy Pruitt and Philip Fulmer, with the NCAA breathing down their neck, with everything they were accused of doing, with 34 guys leaving in the transfer portal, that in year two, Tennessee would have been 2 spots out of the Final Four in the college football playoff and ranked 6th, and in a New Year's Six bowl against Clemson in the Orange Bowl, I would have done backflips hearing about that. So I'm fine where they are. There is a level of disappointment that, you're a really bad defensive performance and really a no-show on defense against South Carolina away from being in the playoff, because that's where they would have been with USC's loss over the weekend. So that part of it's disappointing. But, I mean, overall, what Josh Heupel's done is one of the best coaching jobs in a short amount of time I can remember. Sonny Dykes should win National Coach of the Year for what he's done in year one, getting TCU to the college football playoff. So I'm not arguing for Josh Heupel to be the National Coach of the Year, but it's still one of the best jobs I can remember in recent history for what they've done. They should be ahead of Alabama in the college football playoff, but honestly, Dan, I'm glad they're not, because I would much prefer Tennessee play Clemson in prime time in the Orange Bowl as opposed to taking on Kansas State at 11 a.m. in the Sugar Bowl. And that's the automatic qualifier. The highest non-playoff SEC team automatically goes to the Sugar Bowl. That will go to Alabama. So I'm not going to sit here and complain too much about it, because I do think Tennessee got the better postseason destination by being ranked 1 spot below Alabama in the final college football playoff ranking. So, yeah, I'm all good with where Tennessee football is right now.
We good with Tennessee basketball?
Good so far. Hey, this is what's crazy about Tennessee basketball under Rick Barnes. They lose to Colorado with a full complement of players on a neutral side. Then they lose Josiah Jordan-James for the battle for Atlantis. Their leading scorer, leading rebounder, a leader on the team, a senior guy, a little bit of a do-everything type player, great defender also. He's got the knee issue. And they go to Atlantis and they beat Butler, they beat USC, they beat Kansas. They win that championship. And then they come back, and now Santiago Vescovi, their leading shooter, their top shooter, he's out with an elbow issue. And they blew out, Alcorn State yesterday, and they blew out McNeese State. Those games don't really matter. You just want to avoid disaster in those games. But that's another program. We talk about culture within a program. There's a certain type of player that Rick Barnes wants. And while the postseason record's not good for Rick Barnes, they bring it and they defend and they're tough and they rebound. And right now, by every metric out there, they've got one of the best defensive teams in college basketball. So defense travels, Dan. You know that better than anyone. That Tennessee team is going to be a force to be reckoned with in SEC play this year, once again coming off their SEC tournament championship from a year ago. So I like where Tennessee basketball is right now. They don't have a great low post presence. I think that's the one thing that's going to come back to haunt them at some point. But they got some options with outside shooting. They got great guard play, and they defend. So those factors right there alone, they're going to be a really good team this season.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, Chad. Have a great show.
Dan, always fun. I've been watching some this morning. Always enjoy checking out Don't At Me. And I just really, I sit and hope every day that no one at you, because this is the area where you don't at Dan Dakich. Don't ever disrespect Dan. Don't at him about whatever he's saying. And I'll reiterate that once again. Dan, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Just nod your head, people. Just nod your head. Is Jeff Brom on the move? A few years ago he was, and then he turned around and said, no, Coach Satterfield is the guy. He is leaving Louisville to go to Cincinnati. Jeff Brom, the coach at Purdue. Legend. The Brom family, legendary people. I mean, when you think about Louisville or football or the city of Louisville, the entire Brom family is it. They are it. Howard Schnellenberger, I guess, maybe Papa John, I don't know, maybe Yum. But when you think Louisville football, it is the Broms. I understand. Lamar Jackson came out of there. I understand. I get it. I do. I swear to God I do. But when you go into from high school on through, the Brom family is it. He turned it down the last time. He turned it down. He said no. He did not take the job. He wanted to take it, but he couldn't leave. Now you're going to lose your quarterback. You don't have a whole lot there. You are in a great division, though. If I'm Brom, this is the time if you want to go home. If he doesn't go home, don't at me about it. Don't want to hear about it ever again. I told you years ago, Brom to Louisville. Am I going to be right again? I got some stock up and stock down coming, including Elon Musk. That's right, including North Carolina basketball, including Steve Peichel. Don't at me, people. Just don't at me. Brom to Louisville, baby. Let's see what happens. We'll be right back.
College football's in trouble. There's a lot of people trying to keep it from happening.
I think it's a general consensus across the college football landscape. We want to play football.
College football is a huge part of the fall. It's a huge part of Americana itself.
It just really felt like people in the country needed college football to just feel a little sense of normal.
Big news from the Big Ten as the conference releasing its 10-game football schedule.
We go home thinking there's going to be practice the next day. Everybody gets a text, stay home, everything's canceled.
Big Ten fall football season has been canceled.
We just believe collectively there's too much uncertainty.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, Kevin, is that was the same position you had 6 days ago.
The Big Ten is an unmitigated disaster.
There was a ton of confusion. There was presidents saying one thing, there was coaches saying another.
Players had to be silent, coaches had to be silent, ADs had to be silent.
People said, how does what you just did make any sense?
And nobody really knew what the heck happened when they voted to cancel the season.
You make this huge historical announcement, and then Kevin Warren never does a press conference to explain it. It was like a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis.
The word really that was lacking in all this is transparency.
It felt like a lot of stuff was happening behind closed doors.
Even today, we still don't know what occurred.
So you don't tell us parents, that's fine, but you're not telling the young men that it affects.
We have to make a decision to save the season. What about the history books? What about the rivalry games? What about Paul Bunyan's axe? How is that not going to go to a team this year?
This is a failure of epic magnitude. The Big Ten presidents and leaders should be held accountable for the disastrous decisions that they're making.
Then the commissioner doubles down, saying his decision will not be revisited.
And that's the point. It felt like a war was declared on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren.
Everything turned political.
Because if this is medical, then you would have stopped the game of football a long time ago.
I think the Big Ten leaders will tell you that they probably made a mistake in hindsight.
If I had the chance to do it all over last year, I would make the same decisions that we made.
Ladies and gentlemen, because I am a positive person, which is actually true, I'm going to go stock up first. First, though, stock up to me. Yes, right. Stock up to me if Jeff Brom ends up at Louisville. I told you he was going to go to Louisville. That'll make all of my haters, little guys around here, crazy, right? But I love it. Stock up, baby. That's right. Stock up. To me. All right, let's look at stock up. Elon Musk. Look, this is so ridiculous. Elon Musk has been looked at, he's been barbecued, he's been evaluated, he's been crucified, he's been praised, he's been absolutely everything. I mean everything in the media until what? Until he broke the biggest bombshell story since Watergate. Honest to God. The cartel. The crime family, the Biden crime family was doing what now? They were doing exactly what Donald Trump said. They were using social media, mostly Twitter, to enhance their chances for an election. They were directly using them. Hey, look, get rid of James Wood. Get rid of these celebrities. We want this post. We want that post. Other celebrities asking, hey, look, wait a second here. Let's make sure that we get my tweets off, celebrities were saying. It's unbelievable. 2 hours ago, Elon Musk's Twitter is helping to normalize a neo-Nazi. Not a word on CNN about the biggest political scandal since Watergate. You know what the talking points are from Democrats? Here's what they are. What, you want to see Hunter Biden's junk? Is that why? No. Hell, I don't, no. If I want to see junk, I'll see my own junk. I like my junk. But the truth of the matter is, my junk's good. But the truth of the matter is, Hunter Biden, he is wait for it, the son of the president, who was giving 10% in illegal monies, however you want to say it, to the big guy, which we all know is his dad. From Tesla to Twitter, 2020 was a year of losing for Elon Musk. Really? I think the dude's winning big time. Why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid of free speech? Why are we so afraid in this country to go after the liberal crime families? Go after Trump all you want. Seriously. Keep doing it. I'm looking here on Elon Musk, on Google. You think Google isn't in cahoots? Not one single thing about the release of the files. Not one. Zero. We know it doesn't happen on New York Times. We know it's not going to happen in the Washington Post, the Indy Star. Anything Gannett is going to be squelching this. This is a company, This is a guy that the United States of America media ripped mercilessly, investigated, looked at every move the guy made, every single move the man made. It was up there. It was discussed. I don't know. I don't see it. MSNBC says Elon Musk seems to be censoring left-leaning Twitter accounts. I don't know. It is CBS News. Elon Musk and Twitter. Is he in over his head? I don't seem like it, baby. It seems like Elon Musk is exposing what we've already know. You pukes in the mainstream media are so biased and ridiculous, you can't even get a story out there about the biggest political scandal since Watergate. And I don't say that lightly because we've had the freaking Clintons. And by the way, I'm not suicidal. So if something happens to me, I'm not suicidal. Check your newspaper. Go back. Look at Elon Musk stories. There's a million of them. Look at this one here. Not one. Elon Musk exposed that the Clinton crime family was in cahoots with all the little D-bag employees of Twitter to silence conservative voices, thus interfering with an election. Republican Congress folk, particularly Republicans in the House, are saying, look, once we take control, it is on. We are subpoenaing every one of these skinny jean, beard-wearing, and yes, I'm including the women, people. That's right, all of you. You're coming in front of us, and I can't wait, but you won't hear a word about it. Indy Star. Oh, well, who's the one? All the news is fit to print. Not a damn thing. So here's what you got to do. You got to continue pushing this. You got to continue fighting. Hey, even if you are not, and I am not, a conservative, nor am I a liberal, I'm just common sense. I see this, and I go, what are you doing? Stock up Elon Musk. I asked my brother, who really pays attention to a lot of stuff, I go, man, you see that stuff on Musk? No, nothing. Really? No? All right, okay. There you go. All right. Well, what are you going to do? Elon Musk. Not a word. Why? They don't want you. They don't want you to know what really goes on. I've said this for years. The most corrupt, worthless human beings in our society are in nonviolent crime division, non-pedophile division, although there is crossover, are in the media and Hollywood, and it ain't close. They can write articles about me. They can try to shake me down for $5,000 like the Indy Star did this year. It ain't close. It ain't close. The worst human beings because they're trying to control your thought. Never in the history of the world are those that are demanding conformity the good guys. Never in the history of the world. And that's what our media wants you to do. So what do? I got 150,000 followers. I got as much circulation as the Indy Star does. They have 150,000 in circulation. Nobody buys the piece of crap, but that's the level of circulation. So, hey, I'm getting this out there as much as I can. So should you. And you should not stop. Honest to God, you should not stop. Steve Peichel. A lot of you don't know who Steve Peichel is. Steve Peichel is the head coach of Rutgers basketball. Steve Peichel is the head coach that played for Jim Calhoun, who took over Rutgers when Rutgers tried to make a splash with a clown named Eddie Jordan. So Rutgers basketball in Piscataway decides they're going to go hire this guy, and only Steve Peichel has been able to do this. Steve Peichel has beaten Indiana 6 straight times. How about that? Steve Peichel has beaten Indiana 6 straight times. Steve Peichel's Rutgers basketball team destroyed my number one team in the country, or at least the team that I thought was playing the best, the Hoosiers. They did it physically. They did it mentally. Probably did it verbally. Steve Peichel, thumbs up, man. Rutgers basketball, thumbs up. I watched some of that, and then I had to turn down the volume because Robbie Hummel was telling me things that I didn't even know didn't happen. Anyway, whatever. Illinois State basketball, baby. Don't at me. There it is, Illinois State. I don't know the fight song, but I went yesterday. My son's an assistant coach. They started out being down 7-0. They had 6 shot clock violations. You know what Illinois State did? They scored 87 points and won the game over Belmont. Now, when you think about Belmont, you think about NCAA tournaments. You think about guys making shots. Belmont looked good. But guess what? Ryan Pete and Andrew Dakich and all the folks down there or over there in in Bloomington Normal, they looked great. Stock up. I cannot wait to talk to Emma Jo Morris, so I'm going to go quick here. Jalen Hurts for MVP. Don't even talk to me about it. That's the simplest thing in the world. It's the easiest thing in the world right now. 300-some yards passing in a big game against the Titans. Don't even try it with me. Stock down. All you little Twitter puke employees, all you little pukes that got fired, kiss my backside. All you little Twitter pukes that got run out of there by Elon Musk, good, go. And if you're going to hire one of these little Twitter pukes, think twice about it because they're dishonest. They engage in illegal activities. And, again, name me somebody ever in the history of the world that wants all of us to be complicit, and they're the good guys? No. Bad guys. Bad guys. And last thing, North Carolina basketball. I told you this before. I told you this. I will tell you again. They were a really good team that got really hot at the end of the year, and then they were a function of the end of the year, and they haven't been able to play. I don't care. I want to talk to Emma Jo Morris. Is Emma with us? I want to make sure we have her. Hi, Emma.
Having me.
Oh, I can't. How are you?
Great.
I'm sorry. I jumped in.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live. We are live and in person.
Hi. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad this is working.
Yeah, it usually does. Only though, I'm excited to have you on. I only have 15 minutes. I could talk to you for hours, but let's go through this. You exposed this whole deal with Hunter Biden when you were with the Post, and you got banned. Walk us through, will you?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't personally banned. The New York Post was banned, which is much more remarkable than me being banned. I'm just an editor, and the New York Post is the oldest paper in the country, founded by Alexander Hamilton, the 4th largest in circulation. And they were just kind of deleted from the cyberverse because of accurate reporting.
The last part is the most interesting. You get banned for accurate reporting. Never in the history of the world has that happened until the Biden crime family got involved. Well, maybe the Clinton crime family. I don't know. But that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, if you report on the Clinton crime family, you rot in jail in London on an extradition order for 4 years. But when you do it to Biden, you just get kicked off Twitter, and that's what happened. We're here today because Twitter has now, new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, has made a great gesture of transparency in releasing some of the internal communications surrounding that decision, and it's pretty amazing. It just shows like willful ignorance on the part of Twitter to take the story seriously and to take it for what it is, which was honest reporting. It really actually was. And the way that I knew that in looking at this, and I published this on Breitbart if our listeners would like to read more about it, but the deputy counsel at Twitter is a guy named Jim Baker, and that name may sound familiar to some of your listeners because he was former FBI at the center of the Russia hoax. So he falls up from the Russia hoax at the FBI to being general counsel for Twitter in Silicon Valley, certainly making more money than he was in government. And he is advising basically in these communications to err on the side of censorship. There's communication about how he's saying, we don't know. There is some indication that this could be a hack and dump is the term that they use. And the problem with that story, though, is that at the New York Post, on that story that they're talking about, that first story in the series From the Laptop from Hell, we published exactly what we had, and we published exactly why we thought that this was worth reporting. And part of that was a federal subpoena that was given to the computer repair shop owner, who was originally the person in possession of this hard drive, and the original source of it to us. He had a federal subpoena from the FBI from when he called them to give them this hard drive, before it was in the press and before the New York Post could have been involved, or Rudy Giuliani or anybody. And typically when you're hacking and dumping or doing Russian disinformation or whatever they wanted to say, you don't involve the FBI and give them the material that you have in advance of the press, right? So I published this federal subpoena in this story to show the readers and anyone who was, looking at this who may have had doubt of it. I certainly understood that concern. I show them this subpoena and I say, look at this. This is something that bolstered my belief that this is authentic. Jim Baker would have been very familiar with that document. Jim Baker would have known exactly what that was. And Jim Baker also would have had the resources and the contacts to be able to verify it if he did have any doubts about its authenticity, which he didn't do. He just resorted to this kind of lazy excuse to censor that it could be hacked. That obviously wasn't true, and it was published. There are reasons published for why that obviously wasn't true.
When did you first know? And I'm going to put it this way, but this may not be the right way. When did you first know that you had a problem here?
Well, I was up at 5 a.m. When this story went live online at thenewyorkpost.com, and by 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, I was watching while it got disabled, and it got disabled to such an extent. This is also a revelation from Matt Taibbi from Twitter, that they put such harsh censorship policies on this story that they were the ones used that are typically used for child porn. They were disabled in direct messages. Accounts were instantaneously banned for sharing the story. So I was watching this all happen in real time, sitting at my computer in my apartment in New York saying, what the hell is going on right now? This is something that we had never seen before.
So then what happened? How does somebody go about censoring the New York Post?
When you're a master of the universe, you can make amazing things happen, right? And so this was something that was also very scandalous about this whole thing. Was it wasn't just Twitter, it was Facebook, Twitter, everything. Like you could not. This story was verboten. It was absolutely verboten, and this was in coordination too with legacy media, who was going off of the same excuse as Twitter and Facebook, which was that we don't know. It was either Russian disinformation or it was hacked and therefore illegal to talk about or something. Not true, by the way. And we just can't. It's just bad. It's just bad. It's from right-wing media. It's from the New York Post. We can't look at it. Bad. And they all worked in this like amazing machine-like coordination, which was also something really special about it. You've never had that sort of amazing work, teamwork among all of these companies, and it really raises questions because as front facing, you have multiple companies, right? Facebook is its own company, or Meta. And then you have Twitter as its own company, Google is its own company, and then NBC Universal is its own company, CNN is its own company. And all of a sudden, it starts to look like they're actually working as one company, which definitely raises questions about antitrust.
So now, all right, you guys get banned. You got to hear it, right? You're sitting. I always try to go personal with this, okay? You have this story. You're the editor. You know the story is true, right? You know that I got everything. And yet you're reading all this crap about Russian disinformation. Even the president on television is telling Leslie Stahl this is actually Trump did, but even Biden is saying all over, well, no, this didn't happen in debates. How are you feeling when you're watching people just lie?
It's surreal, and it wasn't, it was blatant lying. I knew it was lying. I'm watching it happen. You feel like you should be the one who's the authority on how this narrative goes, seeing as you're the source of this whole thing. And nobody is calling me. The only people calling me are people to ask if I'm anti-Semitic or homophobic or Russian or whatever. Those are the only calls that I was getting from anybody with any authority in the media and in tech. And it's like, you're all missing the plot. What is going on? And you're lying. Like, you're literally lying. I mean, this was, to me, like, it made me very, I didn't know if I could become more, but it made me very cynical of the media, because it's like, you're not even trying. And, I'm sitting here in New York. I'm not exactly somewhere out in the sticks. I am not in a remote location. I am sitting in the middle of Midtown Manhattan at this point with Hunter Biden's hard drive in my apartment. I published that I am sitting in Midtown Manhattan with Hunter Biden's hard drive in my apartment. And I do not get a single phone call from anybody, from Twitter, from Facebook, from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, from any of these liars and these cheats to say, hey, can I come over? Can I see this? I would have said yes.
Did they know you had it?
Well, we wrote that we have it. I'm the author. I have it. Like, it's not that deep.
So wait. So you're sitting in your apartment with, you can make the argument, the biggest, for lack of a better word, piece of evidence in the biggest scandal in the United States. Now, no offense to you, but I'm looking at your background here. This isn't some palatial estate like Mar-a-Lago, like you got to come in and, no. So this is your New York apartment.
I had a doorman.
Okay. That's big time.
That's about the extent of the security between me and the laptop.
I want to say this clearly. Emma Jo and I'm going to speak for you here. Neither of us are suicidal. So if something, neither of us are suicidal, right? Neither.
Yeah, this smile's real. I'm very happy, and I'm not trying to kill myself, just for the record.
Right. So you have this in your house. Why are media, other than to slam you, obviously, why are they talking about homophobic or anti-Semitic?
It was just to discredit me as the author. It was absurd. And by the way, I'm Jewish. Just for the record, there was a story published that I am anti-Semitic. That was the thing. And also, what was so telling, and my editor at the Post at the time called me and she said they have nothing on this story. They have absolutely nothing, because I start getting calls for comment like this that are just absurd and just ridiculous. I've never had any history of anything like this. I was working at News Corp. There's an extreme level of vetting that goes into hiring there. I was obviously just like a normal person with normal jobs, albeit in conservative media, but nothing fringe or weird. And I'm getting all of a sudden these calls that are preposterous. And it just showed to me, obviously it's not fun to get smeared. And obviously, it's extremely frustrating, actually. It's the opposite of fun. But as a journalist, you kind of look at that and you say, in terms of the quality of the work that you've put out, this is clearly a high quality journalism, because nobody is disputing the story. They are trying to discredit the story by trying to paint me as some sort of monster.
And that's the move, right? That's always the move. When did we, as a nation, you've been in journalism a long time, let me back up. Did it surprise you? Did it shock you that once this story broke, the best and brightest supposedly among us didn't investigate? Your core, I'm guessing, is to investigate. A journalism student's core is to investigate this, right? Isn't that what journalism is supposed to be?
Yeah, of course. And not only is it to investigate, their main qualm, I guess, with what we were doing at the Post was that, because we had written straight up what our sources were, and those sources were Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon. So the basically main criticism of the work was obviously not related to the content, but related to the sourcing. And that has no bearing in reality of journalistic ethics whatsoever. You had Rachel Maddow, who just reported some months earlier about Trump's tax returns that she got from an anonymous leaker who just dropped them in her mailbox, apparently. The New York Times did the same thing, again, from an anonymous leaker. We don't know the motivation of an anonymous person, and we can assume probably that the motivation is because they're personally against Donald Trump. That's fine. And I would never criticize the New York Times or Rachel Maddow for reporting on that, because the truth is that the motivation for the source has no bearing on the story or whether or not it's newsworthy. What matters in terms of reporting is it true? Is it relevant? And is it of public interest? Those are the only things that are relevant when reporting. And so I was pretty surprised to see people who would know this, who have presumably come from the best schools in America, come from Columbia, come from Harvard, who are now working at these legacy outlets who have extreme, obviously, standards for hiring, have these experts in the industry come after me about Bannon and Giuliani. It's like, that is so cheap and stupid, because that has nothing to do with journalism or what merits being reported.
What happened? You had the hard drive in your apartment. Where did it go? How did it go? Where is it still there?
Yeah, it's in my apartment.
Now?
They can still come see it. I still haven't gotten a call. It's been over 2 years now.
That's unbelievable. So now, Musk brings the files out, and obviously you're vindicated. And I'm sure most news organizations called you to say, hey, look, Emma Jo, we're really sorry that we tried to. I'm sure there has been a ton of apologies, correct?
Thank God I can't cash apologies in at the bank. I have received exactly 0 apologies.
How did you feel when this all started coming out?
In terms of the Twitter leaks, you mean? Well, the Twitter revelation.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so the truth is, I was kind of hoping for something that I didn't get, and that I'm still hoping comes out. Barry Weiss is apparently in possession of more materials related to this, and I'll be really interested to see, because what I saw come out on Friday night was interesting. It obviously was interesting. It provided light, on some of the things that we kind of knew were going on, but it didn't have proper documentation of. We had some sort of idea of it, but this was interesting to see, like, the actual deliberations. But what I'm waiting for is an understanding of how the FBI and the intelligence community were briefing Twitter. I want to know the frequency at which they were briefing Twitter, and I want to know exactly what the materials they were briefing Twitter on, because there is reason to believe through reports, just from over the weekend, actually, that the FBI definitely was briefing Twitter, that they were briefing Twitter actually on a weekly basis in the lead up to the election, and that they were talking to them about materials related to Hunter Biden and to be on the lookout to censor them, packaging them obviously as some sort of an intelligence threat. But truly the intelligence threat, it seems, was the FBI.
Man, what's on Biden's hard drive?
A lot of corruption and a lot of porn.
Let me go to that for a second, because it almost is like that's the Democratic response. Like, I can't tell you, I was all weekend pissed off and retweeting, everything I could find about here is finally out. And all I got back from people was, why? You want to look at Hunter Biden's blank pictures? You know what I mean? It's almost like a choreographed response, as opposed to, no, you fool, I want to know the big guy. I want to know the corruption, because this is a crime family.
Yeah, that was what was so disingenuous. I saw that from The Atlantic, which is supposed to be so smart, and they're supposed to be so much smarter than you and me, and they published this stupid story about how, Twitter was right to censor porn. And I'm like, no, that is not what happened at all. What actually happened was the New York Post reported on documents that obviously showed Joe Biden at least involved directly, if not obviously profiting from his son's foreign engagements with China and with Ukraine. Those were the two central places that Hunter Biden had business, and what the New York Post reported was specifically pertaining to Joe Biden's involvement in those affairs. That is it. We obviously, on that hard drive that we were in possession of, had porn on it. We did not publish that. We were not looking to make a circus of this. It was actually, in fact, Twitter and Facebook that made a circus of this. We were completely serious in what we reported, and it was about corruption, apparent corruption, which is yet to be obviously addressed. And now you have these people who are like historical revisionists, but from not even that long ago, trying to claim that what was censored was porn. That's literally just not what happened. What was a scandal was that it was reporting. It was reporting about corruption. That was what was violated. And they want to say now, oh, it's not a violation of the First Amendment because, Twitter, despite being one of the central and most important platforms for the proliferation of information, is a private company. And it's like, well, no, at least, and like I said, we don't know what the government's level of involvement is in this censorship campaign, but at least this totally violates the spirit of the First Amendment. And it totally violates the whole premise of American citizenship, which is that you have access to free journalism. It's absurd and it's gross. And no, we were not peddling porn. It's just ridiculous.
That's like a talking point. Like that's like the deflection.
Yeah, and it's like,
hey,
it's literally
last thing before.
And it's one thing if you want to try to slander something that happened 200 years ago and the people who were directly involved in the story are dead. But it's like I was 27 at that time and I'm 29 now. And I'm still on Twitter and I'm still going to call, like, I'm still here. And I'm telling you that isn't the case. Why are you like so lazy?
Right. So I just did a search. Like I feel like every single thing that Elon Musk has done relative to Twitter has been reported on. Is he going to buy it? Is he not going to buy it? What's he going to do? So I did a Google search, specifically Google search of Hunter Biden just now. And I did it over the last week or whatever it was. And not one word about these files. A ton of, Elon Musk is in over his head. I Google search Elon Musk. I don't know if I said Hunter Biden. I Google search Elon Musk. He's over his head. Bad year for Elon. Not one word about this. And every article that I came across was a negative article on Elon Musk. It's unbelievable. Were you surprised at the lack of reaction from, as you call them, the legacy media?
I mean, I just lived through my life over the last 2 years where, no, I was not surprised. I am totally cynical about these people. I have zero trust in them. I have zero hope in them ever kind of coming to terms with what their role is and actually performing it, which is to report news. So no, I'm not surprised. And the truth is, they were kind of the most embarrassed in all of this because they pride themselves on being like, the premier sources of information for the American people. And this was the biggest scandal in modern history that they just totally missed. And now every time this comes up, it kind of reminds the American people of how incompetent they are and how duplicitous they are. So now with this big news story about Elon Musk, you had the New York Times all weekend did not have a single story on their homepage about it. They do not want to go there because every time they go there, they have to remind their readers that they lied about the story. First of all, initially in 2020, before the election, when it would have been probably most relevant, and then from then on, they've been lying about it and trying to obfuscate their role in concealing it. So this is extremely embarrassing for these people. And you asked if they've apologized to me. Of course not. And they're not known for their humility, and they're not known for their sense of personal responsibility. They're known for being smug and arrogant and covering up for each other and moving on. And that's what you're getting more of here. It's like they're not going to talk about this. They don't want to go there.
How are you not on every single television, media, political talk show today? How are you with me and not on frickin' CBS? And it's exactly what you just said, how smug, disingenuous, and arrogant they are and how wrong they were. So they don't want you on any talk shows today, correct?
I'm their enemy number one. And I'm publicly, I'm sitting here right now calling them smug liars. And I'm not afraid to talk like that. And maybe I have a little bit of wild child in me, which is how I got this story in the first place. And I just don't care. I have no respect for these people. They are liars and they totally betray their role and their trust with the American people, who I actually do respect. So, I'm not going to be invited on these shows because I'm going to say, where were you? Why? Like, what is this conversation? You totally they're political operatives, and that's exactly what I think, and I wouldn't be able to say anything otherwise. I'm not surprised that I'm not on CBS, NBC, CNN, whatever. To be honest, I don't regard them with much credibility, and I don't think that they're very influential.
Man, you're awesome. I'm just going to tell you, you're awesome.
Thanks.
You are.
I mean, I just don't care. Like, the truth is what it is, and the lies always come back to you, and that's what this is this weekend too. It's like you try to lie and you try to spin, and life doesn't work that way. The truth kind of always rears its head, and the longer you try to put it off, usually the more stupid you look when it happens. I don't see what they thought they were doing. This isn't like
the wild child
anymore. No, I was just going to say
1962 is
where there's no other medium to get information, and it's like just the evening news that tells you reality. It's like, no, like this is going to come out. So how do you want to do this?
Yeah, well, by the way, 1962, I know I look like I'm in my 20s, but it was a really good year. That was the year I was born. And I totally get what you're saying. If Walter Cronkite didn't say it, it didn't happen. That's it, right? It didn't happen.
Exactly. And it's not 1962, it's 2022. And like, there's a huge media ecosystem. There's social media. Like, there's just too much technology for these people to take the moral high ground about lying and keep it.
The wild child of right-wing media. There you are. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Emma Jill Morris. I hope you'll come back.
God forbid.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so. Thank you. Are you kidding me? Thank you. Man,
have a good one.
How about that? You have a great day. And again, she is not suicidal. I am not going to end up like Vince Foster. I'm just telling you right now. I got a great life. She's got a great life. So whatever happens, I want it out there to know. Nobody here in this conversation is suicidal. Just telling you. Thank you, Emma Jo. All right. Fantastic day. Thank you to everybody. Haley and Davey. Davey filling in for Dylan and Ryan and Aaron. What a great show. We're going to be back at it tomorrow. If you want more of this, join me, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news, the Panthers are going to release Baker Mayfield. What are you going to do? We'll see you tomorrow. Baker Mayfield possibly out of Cleveland.